Hi, this is Anita with 5 Minutes with Art. A lot of people hear the word or the art movement, abstract impressionism. They begin to think like, oh, is that the impressionist movement? And because the word impressionism's in there, many people think that it's a movement that started in France, maybe after the impressionist movement in France, but really it is not. And that's where there can sometimes be a confusion between abstract impressionism and the impressionism movement. Abstract Impressionism is basically an art movement that started in the United States after World War II. And what is so unique about this movement is it really marks a shift from the art world changing from Europe to the United States. Before World War II, there was no doubt that a place like France was really the heart of the artistic movement in the world. But after World War II, this began to shift and began to go more to a place like New York City. There's a couple things about abstract impressionism and artists that you will recommend there who have done a lot of the works, artists such as Jackson Pollock, who did a lot of abstract expressionism work, that you can see that it really is not work at all like an impressionist work if you know any of those type of paintings. There's some characteristics of abstract impressionism which makes it a unique art movement. First of all, one is the emphasis on color. They'd have bold, innovative use of color, often employing various hues to create moods and atmosphere. There'd be sort of non-representational forms. It could be abstract lines and forms, and maybe the painting itself, you wouldn't say like that was the ocean or that was the tree, or it would be something that didn't really represent anything, but yet could have represented something in the artist's mind. It was all about spontaneity. They had sort of spontaneity and a fluidity in them. Think about Jackson Pollock and the way he would throw the paint onto the canvas. That's a great example of abstract impressionism. There would be a lot of textures, achieved through the brushworks, the techniques and media. Again, think of an artist like Jackson Pollock and where he layered, a paint upon paint upon paint. And so it sort of has this very sort of unique type of different layers on the paint itself. There would also be a focus on light, just like the Impressionism did, but it was light in an abstract manner. It was very much based upon personal expression, that it would be the artist's own personal vision and emotion to the subject matter that they're giving. In other words, like I said before, I started talking about, just because the artist says the ocean, it didn't mean that it looked like the ocean. It was their representation of how they as an artist maybe saw the ocean. We had dynamic compositions, which, could sort of guide the viewer's eyes around the canvas itself. There was a subtle graduation of different types of colors, forming depth and complexity. And many of the abstract impressionists, they would draw their inspiration from nature, landscapes, and other type of phenomena and then they would take that and put it into an abstract type of form. So they would take nature, but they would abstract nature and make nature be abstract. They also often combine techniques with other movements, such as gestural brushstrokes. So when you think about abstract impressionism, even though it has that name impressionism in it, it really is a look which is very different from what the impressionists were doing, in the end of the 19th century in France. In fact, this is a movement which would have happened like 50 years or 60 years later than that. And it actually was a movement that looks very different. It's a movement which started in New York City. So there's American artists. Artists such as Jackson Pollock, Robert Motherwell, Mark Rothko, all of them were, very well-known abstract impressionist artists. And if you look at their works, you could see that they are very different than the impressionists as we knew it, in France. If you'd like to be able to see some of the major works of art and learn more about this movement itself, we have written a blog post entitled Exploring Abstract Impressionism, a deep dive into the movement. You can go in there and you can learn more about this, see some of these paintings, and discover this movement. This is one of my favorite art movements. I love it. I love the spontaneity of it. I love the creativity of it. I just really love this art movement. This is Anita from 5 Minutes with Art. Thank you so much for listening. Take a moment, subscribe to our channel, become part of our community. We'd love to have you join with us. We know without you, our listeners, this would not be possible. Thank you.